I'm Andrew McVicker, and my wife and I have 3 children, and one of our children has classic autism, and he was on antipsychotics for a long time, and we've been treating him successfully with whole plant cannabis, really high strain, high in cannabidiol, very low THC. This is effective for him. But today, I've had a lot of people ask me how to make extracts. I'm going to show you at least my method for making extracts. Here's a few things that you would need if you're making. I use an alcohol extract. I'm most familiar with using alcohol as an extractor. I can reduce it to a level that I want, and then thereby make a liquid and measure an effective dose. So here's a few things that you would need if you're going to be doing. A good kitchen knife can come in handy if you want to chop up your buds by hand. Ideally, though, a grinder works best. So we'll come back to that. So first you have to have your herb, which we've already done out, or will be doing out shortly. A digital thermometer that's liquid friendly, because you're going to be wanting to maintain liquid temperatures at a steady rate for a while. You have a filter of some kind. This filter's just been around my house for a long time. It's a gold coffee filter. It's got a super fine mesh. We'll get to why that. Ideally, that should fit into another strainer of some kind. And always use Pyrex glass. Always make sure your glass is heat tempered, because we're going to be using varied temperatures. A turkey baster. This is for, again, it'll be for controlling some temperatures. We're going to do a water bath later, and this will be used to extract some of the hot water when it gets too hot, and we can pour in cold water. So this is just a handy tool. Any utensils you're using that involve heat and glass should never be metal. Yeah, that has a metal handle, but when glass gets heated, if you're using a mason jar or Pyrex, when it's hot, the structure changes a little bit, and anything banging on it really could damage what you're doing and ruin your whole batch. A wooden spoon, silicone are okay. Silicone. I tend to stay away from plastics. Plastics and heat. Plastic can give off molecules in the plastic that you don't necessarily want. So silicone, heat tempered, you can get at a kitchen supply store. Most of this stuff you can get. Digital thermometer I got at my local grocery store is about $10. Pyrex bowls range in price based on their size. Turkey baster, almost everybody has one. Good kitchen knife, we've got our favorites. We're going to be handling hot pans and materials, so a couple of hand towels so you don't burn your hands. Parchment paper, we're going to actually, the part of the process is to, once you have your herb all crushed up and ready to use, a lot of people, if they smoke it or vaporize it, that heating action is what converts the cannabinoids in cannabis from their acidic state into their other state. So in this plant, it's really high in CBD. All of the cannabinoids in here are CBDA, THCA, CBNA. It's all in their acidic state. What we're going to do is we're going to put it in the oven for half an hour, and then what's that going to do is it's going to change the structure. It's going to break off that acid molecule, the water molecule, and then thereby that becomes a more effective medicine. So what we're going to do is so ideally what you should have is you want to grind up your herb not into a powder, but into a sort of, they want to be consistent, just over a millimeter in length or size. You don't want a super fine powder, because the more consistent this is, the better it reacts to the heat in your oven. If you have got really fine powder, that's going to just vaporize your cannabinoids, and you'll have an ineffective medicine. So if it's all the same size, this will be most efficient. This is a really small grinder, so I'm just going to give you an example of how this should look. You can actually get bigger grinders with hand cranks with all the same little sharp teeth in here that'll grind it to the same sort of consistency. In the interest of time today, I'm going to use a food processor. Many people will tell you don't use a food processor for the same reason I just told you. Some of the parts will become dust and some will be, but I'm good and practiced at pulsing it just right. But ideally what you want to do is get one of these little 3-piece, 4-piece guys here, and put your herb right on top, and then we're going to grind it up into a consistency that we like, and then I'll show you what that is. Now you want to have, before you're making your extract, you'll also want to have your, if you have an oven, digital is easiest to use. There are going to be temperature variances up and down a few degrees. No oven is, especially at home, no oven is perfect at holding a temperature. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be baking or decarboxylizing the cannabis on the parchment paper on a baking sheet at 245 degrees on the top shelf of the oven for half an hour. So essentially, this is about how you're going to want it to look. That kind of size and texture of grind right there. I don't know if you can get in on that okay, but you see that it's not a powder, it's a nice crumble. Okay, you can, if you have the patience, you can do it by hand. You can also use a knife and chop. Okay, so we're going to just quick buzz this up, take a minute, take a break, come back, and we'll put this in the parchment and into the oven, and then we'll take it from there.